Hello, I'm Christina Saley. I'm a positive discipline parent educator and parenting coach, and I'm coming to you every week with a new positive discipline parenting tool. We have an app that has 52 tool cards. That's one tool for every week for a whole year. Imagine adding all of those tools to your tool belt. The cards look like this. You can also get the physical cards at www.positivediscipline.com. But I love these tool cards, and I'm going to come to you every week teaching about a new tool and just giving you a chance to really implement each tool into your family 1 week at a time. So on here, this one is that we're talking about this week is control your behavior. And on here it asks, do you expect your children to control their behavior even when you don't? Ouch. Yeah, it's true though. We tend to expect so much from our children. We get upset when they throw tantrums or talk to us disrespectfully. But how often do we talk to them disrespectfully? How often do we raise our voice and yell at them, snap at them, right? Yeah. So when we yell, kids go into fight, flight, or freeze mode and stop learning anything we're trying to teach them. Yelling causes children to resent us, and children rarely trust and listen to a person they resent. Yelling trains kids to not to listen to us until we raise our voice. And what's more, it teaches them to yell back at us. So most of us know this, right? Most of us know that yelling is ineffective, at least in the long term. Most of us don't want to yell at our kids and feel quite guilty after we have, right? So how do we stop yelling? That's a question I know so many of us are asking. I was a yeller when my kids were younger, before positive discipline, and even after learning positive discipline tools, it was still hard for me to break the habit of yelling. It just seemed like they would do something that would trigger me, and before you know it, I was flipping my lid and flying off the handle. And I didn't know quite what to do. So today we're going to talk about some strategies that you can use and practice. So one strategy on this card says, create your own special timeout area and let your children know when you need to use it. So if you followed any of my videos or my parenting workshops, you know that I talk a lot about creating a positive timeout space for your children to help them calm down. But us adults need it just as much. We need our own space where we can go and take a break when we're upset. And again, it's important to model this for our children and let them know, mommy feels really upset right now. I'm gonna go take a break, and I'll come back when I'm feeling calm. But I know not always is it possible to walk away. Sometimes it means going to our bathroom where there's a lock on the door, but sometimes we can't even do that. Sometimes our kids are too young and need us, and we just can't leave. So what do we do then? Well, on this card it says, if you can't leave the scene, count to 10 or take deep breaths. I know we've all heard that, right? Count to 10 or take deep breaths. But why is it so hard? So I look at it as this. There's this little space in between when we're feeling a big emotion and then how we react or respond to that emotion. And like I said earlier, at first it may seem like there's really no space at all. But the more that we use strategies and practice these strategies, the bigger that space gets. And some of the strategies I like to talk about today are, for me, self-care was key. Like knowing, and what self-care was to me is starting to say no say no to things. I used to take on so much. My plate was so full. I felt like I had to be everything to everybody in order to be a person of value. And as a result, I was so overwhelmed and became resentful. And I took that out on my children or my exes. And so learning that I was a person of value, even when I didn't do everything, that I started to say no to some things and not volunteer at 10 different places. It was quite ridiculous. Yeah. So that was one step for me that really made a difference. I noticed that once I started saying no to things, the overwhelm lessened and the yelling lessened. And that really enabled me to start using the positive discipline tools that I was learning. Another strategy is to increase that space is to what I like to call name it to tame it. Or actually, I think Dan Siegel named it, name it to tame it. And that's when you feel that big emotion coming up, you actually just take a minute to feel it in your body and think to yourself, I feel my fist clenching, my jaw clenching. I feel my face getting hot. I feel tension in my shoulders. And then when you notice how it feels in your body, then name it. I'm feeling really angry right now, or irritated, or sad, whatever the emotion might be. But once you name it, it actually opens up the space to tame it. And once you open up that space, you can then take some deep breaths or count to 10. And once you're calm, then you and your child can problem solve and come up with solutions together. So also helpful is noticing your triggers. Notice what comes up for you and what happened to cause you to be triggered. And doing the work it takes to solve some of those issues. They might be some deep beliefs you've had since you were young. It might even be some trauma you experienced as a child that is triggered and causes you to explode. So noticing those triggers and then doing the work to resolve it, which could mean talking through it with a friend or a therapist or doing some deep personal work. It's our responsibility to heal. And I honestly believe that's what parenting's about. It pushes us up against those things so that we have to do the work and heal from it so that we can be the best versions of ourselves. Also, it's not taking it personally. Like, our kids are not out to get us. I know sometimes it feels like they are, but they really aren't. And so the more that we can step back and realize that they're not doing this on purpose. They're having a hard time regulating their emotions, just like we do sometimes. That can make all the difference. And then also practicing mindfulness. And I know to some people, mindfulness may not seem very accessible. It might seem like I got way too many thoughts going on in my head to just meditate or not empty my thoughts. It's just not happening. But really, mindfulness can be really simple practices. One thing that I really like to do is notice with my 5 senses. So first noticing one thing that I see, and then noticing one thing that I hear, one thing that I taste, smell, and then lastly, one thing that I feel or touch, like feeling my bottom in the chair or my feet on the ground or in my shoes. So just noticing with your 5 senses. And the more that you practice these mindfulness exercises, the more calm you'll notice you are, and the less yelling you'll do. So that's just a few tips. I hope that you found this helpful, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.